So this is general audio video for your local CitySec meetup needs, whatever you want to call it. This kind of came about because there were people asking questions, and I'm like, maybe I should do a talk on it. And they're like, oh yeah, you totally should. And now some of them aren't here, so throwing shade where shade is necessary. Also, when we started SecDSM really typing up audio video stuff, there wasn't, like, we worked with Security Kansas City, and then Security Iowa City asked us for stuff, but I haven't ever bothered putting anything like this together. So a little bit about me, like, who am I? Why should you trust me? I'm in a security thing. This is an audio video. Like, what's the deal? So I usually start by telling people that I used to work at a church, and I did a lot of audio video there, and people kind of give you a funny look. Because it's like, well, what do you mean you had a microphone for the pastor, right? I'm like, no, the one I worked at was a little bit more like this. Two of those pictures are actually from when we rented out Wells Fargo Arena one time. So pretty large scale stuff. So that's how I got my chops. SecDSM isn't religious. I'm not going to talk to anyone about religion, but that's how I got started, and that's how I kind of know what I'm doing. A little bit about Kenny. I think I threw this slide in after I had her review them. She knows OBS, which is what we use for streaming, better than I do. She has an eye for aesthetics and other helpful things like that. She's been super helpful throughout, basically since I started doing the audio video stuff here. So when you see her on the slide loop at the beginning and they announce it, that's why, that's who she is. How would we get to what we have today? So hardware needs, right? You need equipment, but what do you need? It's all about needs and wants and opportunity costs. Because for any given budget, you can say, well, I either want the best, camera I can get for that budget, and I don't care about anything else. But then you're not going to be streaming, you're not going to be recording, you're probably not going to have great sound. So we kind of had to figure out, what we need. Some of the components that we've put together. We have an audio mixer, we have a projector, we don't have a presenter laptop. We've debated having a presenter laptop. We have presenters bring their own laptop. We have a crap ton of adapters that all go to HDMI, and then we use the HDMI to go into our laptop for streaming. Put the asterisk there because it's not just streaming, it also records a local copy. For a couple venues that have needed maybe less bandwidth intensive streaming, we actually had it dual encoding. So it would record one local 1080 copy and then stream in like 720 or whatever it was. I/O is a big thing. You need to know what you need to take in and what you need to take out if you're building a kit like this. So requirements are a big thing and figuring all that out and what parts you need. I would say that this list is probably a pretty baseline list for any sort of audio video kit for something like this. The output from our streaming laptop also drives the projector, so sort of a two birds, one stone there. Some of the considerations to think about with something like this are, one is the venue I/O capabilities. That will determine to a certain extent what you need to be prepared for and what you need to have and maybe what you can get away without having. The people at your event can play a really, really big part in what you need. Security, we're a security meetup with a bunch of people that might do some sketchy stuff. So there's always that consideration about, like, do we need a password on that SSID? Yeah, we probably should. Do we need to lock the computer? Probably should, but also we'll notice if they're over there. One of the things is we tend to have people bring their own laptop. It can bring another, wild card into the mix. If there's a glitch, sometimes you get that laptop and that monitor and they just don't like each other. Doesn't matter how much you fight with it. If you haven't dealt with that, I envy you. But that's just one of the other things. Price is another big thing. Are you looking to spend in the 2 figures or in the 7? You can build an audio video system pretty much anywhere in that scope. For us, portability was one of the big things. Since we don't have, SecDSM doesn't have an office building that we just own or anything like that, we needed something that could be portable. A little bit more on that here in a little bit. Some interesting vehicles that it's had to fit into. Durability and longevity were big for me. I didn't want to say this is what we should buy and then have it break after 2 months because that kind of looks bad. So yeah, these are my primary considerations and things that if you're looking to do something similar, you'll probably need to consider as well. This is where I cut probably 20 minutes from the talk because it doesn't really matter. But as I mentioned, each venue has something a little bit different. Do they support XLR for audio? Or is it just a headphone-style TRS connector? Do they only have Bluetooth? What do they take for video? Do they have video? Do they have a screen? What do they have for speakers? Are the speakers, what you're going to use for quality? Are you going to send a signal to them, or do they have better equipment and you're going to take the signal from them and ingest that into your system for live stream and recording and whatever? All things that you'll need to think about if you're, like us, are trying to take an audio-video kit and then sort of drop it into a venue and expect everything to work. Another consideration, sort of the people or the talk, specific to us, again, is presentation formatting. It needs to be big enough to see. Hopefully I've achieved that goal. It would really suck if I didn't. The presenter mic needs to be easy enough to use, so they don't have to think about, like, how do I operate this thing? Headset mics work really well as far as an audio quality and a movability standpoint. Like, you can walk around the room, and the headset mic will pick you up wherever you're at. It's not like a lapel where you turn your head one way and you can't hear them anymore. But trying to have people figure out how to put that on their head if they haven't done it before is very amusing to watch. But they don't usually appreciate it when they're trying to get up and have a talk in front of a bunch of people. With this mic, one of the big things is to eat the mic. If I start stepping back a little way, you probably can't hear me as well, and then you're like, oh, I need you to step up there. Kenny, like I said, useful aesthetic stuff. Made us a wonderful sign that we can throw at presenters to be like, hey, you need the mic closer. Also at the end, when, Q&A, and they just answer the question, but everyone on the live stream is like, what are they answering? What was that? Oh, I see, and I'm already messing up. Now we need one that says hold paper in front of camera so that, we can do live demos. Aspect ratio is a very, very important and interesting thing. We use 1920 by 1080 natively, but we have tricks. As you can see, my screen that has the words on it is actually a 1920 by 1080 feed into there, and then it's downscaling it a bit so that they can put my ugly face on it with my little lower third title stuff at the bottom. Yeah, I already said repeat question. I'm ahead of myself. This is great. Because, if you are recording it or live streaming it and you want that part to be in the thing, they're not going to hear. One workaround to that is if you have a second microphone that you want to pass to the people or whatever, that's the way you're doing it. We've tried that before. It was about as amusing as watching somebody put on a microphone that they've never worn before. Wasn't very practical, but was pretty amusing. It was even better when they forgot to turn it off, and then you just hear random background conversations. We kind of went away from that. Template email. New presenters especially, I have a template email that I basically just copy and paste it whenever I get the little submission on the form. If you've presented and didn't get that from me, that's either because, one, I goofed, or two, you didn't actually submit a form. You just told one of the board members, hey, I want to present, and you snuck in, and I didn't know about it until day of, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't know their email, so oh well. But in that template email, I lay out some of the things that I talk about here, like, presentation formatting and make sure your text is big, and if you have stuff near the edge of the screen, it might get cut off and all that good stuff. I should probably add something in about don't whack the mic stand. Another one of the considerations, full disclosure, since we have all our open books and whatever, I can say this, the initial kit, some of you that were around at the time, back when we were at Pillar Technologies Forge, I think that's how you say it, we spent about $3,000 on this kit at that time. It was $1,000 for that 3 different companies donated to us, and part of that deal was that before and after every talk for 12 months, we put their logos up, basically saying, hey, the recording and streaming stuff provided by these 3 companies. I don't remember what they are. I remember 2 of them off the top of my head, but I never remember the third, so I'm not going to try and list them. So it was basically free advertising for a year. They paid $1,000 and got a bunch of information security people to look at their content every month. One of the other considerations, since I was kind of the de facto person, is it had to fit in my vehicle. I had a smart car, so I had to do a lot of measuring, and I kind of took a guess, and I said, I think this will fit. And it did, with less than a quarter inch to spare. It was great. I could not see my passenger mirror when I had the kit in there most of the time, so it was just kind of a, well, hopefully they'll see me and feel pity when using a lot of the right lane, that sort of thing. Then it was a Fiesta ST, which is a kind of sportier version of the Fiesta, if you're not familiar, which means they use crappier lightweight components in the trunk area, which means that having however much this kit weighs was kind of tearing it up a bit. So I finally got a Spark now. I don't care what happens to the Spark. If we end up tearing up the back of it, loading in and out equipment, oh well. But that's a consideration. If you're going to be the one hauling it around, make sure you have room for it. Also storage. Do you have a garage? Do you have a second room? Like where are you going to keep the stuff if you're the one in charge of it? Some point later, we added a projector. We initially didn't have a projector because the venues we were using all had projectors. Venue change necessitated, let's get a projector. It's an ultra short throw. So that means that you basically just put it right in front of the screen. It doesn't need to be like clear back there and then, oh no, you can't walk here. So that's why we went with that. It's also really difficult to aim. If you want free entertainment, show up about 7 minutes earlier than maybe you normally do. And whoever gets the job of trying to aim the projector, you might hear some cuss words there too. It's a lot of fun. We do have a screen as well. We're not using it currently because this screen's better and it belongs to the venue and they let us use it, so thank you for that. One of the big things as far as cost considerations that I've found to be really useful is to not go with the cheapest option. You want cheap, perhaps, but you don't want bad. If you're on a constrained budget, try the second cheapest option. If you see a bunch of Amazon things that are like all $50, and then there are like a few of them that are like 60 to 70, don't get one of the ones under $60. Get one of the ones in the 60 to 70 range because it's going to be a big difference. I know from experience, unfortunately. Pre and post meeting stuff. Again, if you're doing a meetup similar to this where you have a little bit of before time and after time and you're bringing your stuff into the venue, setup and teardown is a big thing. Coordinating with speakers, any special needs they might have. The first time we had someone that wanted to play audio from their computer, we hadn't really thought about that. We never tested it before. They were just going to hold the mic to it, and I'm like, that's not great quality. I bet you we can figure this out. So things like that. What if they've only got VGA out on their laptop? What if they're like, I'm drawing a blank, not Brandon, not Colin, Craig. Like Craig wants a new laptop. Maybe he only has VGA out. Maybe that's why he wants the new laptop. If that's the case, I say we should get it for him. We do not have an adapter from VGA to HDMI. So if your laptop only has VGA and you're planning on presenting, make sure you talk to us beforehand so we can make sure to work something out. We have display link adapters, so hopefully that's not an issue. If you don't have USB or anything other than VGA, we'll talk about that later. YouTube videos. We post our stuff on YouTube afterwards in most cases. That we do have a privacy option when you're submitting a talk that you can choose to opt out of that or to have it private or something if you want. They typically need a little bit of editing. One of the big things that I need to edit is because I goof it, and that's the little text down there at the bottom. It's always wonderful if I have the wrong title and name there, and we're halfway through the talk, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I change it, but then there's that whole first part of the presentation that got it recorded wrong. So then I have to go back in and like overlay and do video editing, and it's a pain in the butt, but it's self-inflicted punishment, really. But that's something to do. Also, if anyone loves YouTube, wants to edit videos in YouTube, let me know. I really don't care about it. That's why I only update them like once a quarter. Also, not very many people watch it. We have a slide about that a little later, but they're in playlists by month. So if you ever want to be like, oh, I don't remember what the talk was, I don't remember who gave it, but it was really cool, and it was like February of this year. Well, go back. You can look. We've got playlists out there on YouTube. I did put the bullet point in about charging audio equipment. Doesn't mean I remembered to do it. So the recent wireless XLR kit that I mentioned, it's like wireless. It uses batteries. So when I showed up today, I was thinking, man, I think I got everything done. I got the updates. I put in all the little text at the bottom ahead of time, so I'm not doing it when I'm here. I showed up early enough, and then I pulled those out. And I'm like, oh. Lots of cuss words came out. We're rated R, so I could say them, but whatever. I'll try and keep this a little bit. We'll get there. We'll get there. She wants me to say heck. I don't know why. Software updates on the laptop. We have this meeting like the first Tuesday of the month. First Thursday. And isn't Patch Tuesday like the first Tuesday or something? So doesn't that mean, or is it second? I don't know. Either way, I update like Wednesday or Thursday before the meeting and just kind of hope for the best. I've been bit by it only once, so hopefully it's fine. This time there was actually a big update to OBS, and the interface looked completely different. I went, oh shit. So there you like anyhow. So I pretty quickly realized it was basically just a CSS change. Like they didn't actually move anything; they just made it look different. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. But yeah, so if you're using something that sits in a backpack, 30 days of the month, and on the first day it comes out or something like that, that's something to keep in mind. Now for some visual imagery. I'm not good at memes, and I'm not good at incorporating it, but I can do one or the other. I have yet to find an actual picture of this kit in the smart car. I promise it did happen. This is me loading it, and you can see the little tailgate thingy on the smart car there. This is how when I lived at a mobile home, and you can see everything there. That's how it got in and out of that vehicle. And if you ST, you can see it's a little cramped. Shout out to Ben Schmidt. Those of you that know Ben Schmidt knows he does some woodworking stuff. That little platform in the trunk I mentioned that they made all crappy that was getting torn up, he made one out of wood for me so that I could just load the stuff on there and not really worry about it. And it worked beautifully. Here is in the most recent vehicle, the Spark. A little trickier to get it in there, but it all fits and no real complaints. A little bit of the hardware setup, how it all works together. So from approximately Kenny's view right now, usually where I sit, this is kind of what it looks like. You see kind of a whole mess of cords and stuff. It packs up pretty nicely, but we've got a drawer in there for some extra storage. You'll notice I am committing a sin here because thou shalt not use vertical content in a horizontal space. However, you may notice that there's another sin I'm committing by posting a picture of the key used for that drawer. However, this is not a key designed for security, as you might be able to tell, but rather is just purely a latch to keep the drawer from sliding open when I hit the brakes too hard. However, replacing the actual key with a latch was going to cost like $15, and I said I have this 12-cent little carabiner. Let me use that instead. So that's why it is the way it is. A little bit of signal path. For those that aren't familiar with signal path, it's different from networking path. It's kind of similar but very different because in networking, a lot of times you don't really care the path it takes as long as it gets there soon enough and in an order enough that you can kind of piece it back together. Audio video, that's not the case. Audio video, if you do that, that's where you get weird things. That little buzz you heard earlier, that's the ground loop. That's kind of a signal path issue. If you ever see like the hum bars where you get the black bar that kind of goes up or down, that's might have something, troubleshoot something in your signal path. Weird little feedback issues, or if it sounds, like you're underwater, or you squeak, all sorts of stuff. Signal path can be a big thing that you need to know if you're going to be troubleshooting something. Our signal path for our kit, we take an HDMI input from the presenter. Right now, my Chromebook. We split the audio out if present. I mentioned before the audio from the presenter if they want to have audio from their laptop that they play. They can do that if they're using HDMI, if they set their audio output device to the HDMI. And in pretty much all audio video systems, I've checked with people that know way more than me, and sounds like I did it mostly right. If you're processing audio and video, you do them separately. And you basically, if you get them combined, you split it as soon as you can, and then you combine it at the last possible connection point before you send it wherever it needs to go. We have a wired condenser mic, which helps with if you're a little bit off, it's a little bit more sensitive, so it picks up a little bit better than a dynamic mic. If you want any details on any of this, I could talk for 3 hours, so just find me later. The mix, EQ, route, noise gate, and compressor. I've got screenshots for those here in a bit. Those are all things with how the audio signal is actually processed in the mixer before it gets to the laptop. And then, therefore, before it gets to the venue as well. After it hits the mixer, so that bullet points there are all in the audio mixer. After the mixer, it hits the live stream laptop. We also take in a webcam, which is right here right now. I kind of dropped the tripod earlier. Fortunately, the camera was not attached yet, so I didn't break the camera because that would have been really awkward for me giving my talk tonight. We use Restream.io to distribute our live stream to Twitch and YouTube without having to do a bunch of funky, weird stuff in OBS that only Kenny is smart enough to figure out. So basically, we don't directly stream to Twitch or YouTube. Like if you've ever streamed to one of those two and you put your streaming key in, that's not what we do. We put our streaming key in Restream.io, and then they do some fancy magic in the cloud, and we've got streaming keys in there for Twitch and YouTube, and it goes out. So adds a little bit of latency, adds another point of troubleshooting, which has come up in the past, but it lets us hit both of those streaming platforms, and if we want to add more, we can. Not very many people watch streams, so we haven't. Nobody's complained too much. And then we send audio to the venue via that wireless XLR I've mentioned like 3 times now, so no need to rehash that. This is a screenshot from Restream.io. I was curious to see what was up in there, and no, my little alignment's off. Oh well. But you can see we have, what is that, 75 or 75% and 25% YouTube and Twitch. I don't know which is which. And we are in the single digits for live stream viewership. So not a lot of people watching it, but the people that do watch it seem to appreciate it. So you know what? If we're already recording it, we're already posting it later. And I think we do get double digits on those videos later. Right? A whole 12 people. Might be 50 on some certain presenters, Tom Poll. But anyhow, so same for YouTube. Post-stream stats, not a whole lot of people, which in part makes me lazier to post it afterwards. I know that some people here are like, why haven't you posted that yet? So to repeat the comment, Kenny says that if I posted it more quickly, then more people would watch it. The more people that complain to me is what gets me to post it faster. So if you're one of those people that's like, well, I'd watch it if it was there, just
what's on the screen, you know, hey, if Jared posts it, then if I forget about it 6 months.
I'm getting heckled by my own volunteer. This is great. I knew it was coming. It's all right. So moving on, this is the signal path, which you probably can't see. If you decide you want to see this, then great. Come ask me later. I have a screenshot here. One of the main reasons I put this here is so that I know where it's at. I actually went to try and find this screenshot, and the only copy I could find was like 3 years old, and it didn't have like half of what I needed. So this is now our updated documentation. Congratulations, you are all a backup copy. Here's some screenshots from the mixer, which I use a Kindle Fire 7, I think, whatever like the $40 on sale for Prime Day thing is that has a processor made in like 2002 or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of junk, but it works. All it's doing is the specific mixer that we have uses a web page. It does not use some crappy app that you have to have iOS or you have to have Android. It's just a web page. And we're using the built-in wireless of it. A little bit more on that here in a minute. This is kind of what it looks like throughout a talk, except that you can see that slider that's up, not the two that are together, but the one off to the left a little ways, it's muted in this screenshot. So if someone were talking, it wouldn't do them a whole lot of good. During the talk, that is unmuted. That's sort of the main layout. Those two little things, I believe, go to HDMI output? I don't remember for sure. That's all right. So they go to one of the other outputs on the mixer, though. This is the EQ that we're using for this mic right now. Each room is a little different. If we had more time between people and we cared a lot, we could tailor this to each person's voice. You can see we've got a little dip in there. That was one of the spots that we were getting a little bit of feedback. One of the things that we care about here especially if it's a little bit chattier night, is gain before feedback, which is basically how much can I turn that thing up before it starts to make really unpleasant squeaking noises. And one of the ways to tweak this is you make it make squeaking noises. And then you see what frequency that's happening at. And you say, let's pull that one down a little bit. Now we can pull it up even more. So that's basically what I did here with a little bit of tweak to get sort of an overall good sound that gave me decent gain before feedback without having to fight it too much. This is a compressor and noise gate. So if I stop talking for, I think, more than about a second and a half, it will actually quickly fade out the microphone to be completely off so that you don't have any weird like background noise type hiss thing, which is especially noticeable if you're listening on the live stream and not in the room where you've got sort of other background noise and some pumps and lights and whatever else making noise. The compressor, what that does is if I get way too loud, you'll notice it's not completely correlating with how loud I am, because that little blue line up there, that's basically saying once he gets to here, like level out the volume. We don't want to hear it. So that's great for James Beal because he's excellent at eating the mic. I got the bird. This is amazing. Best talk ever. So anyhow, yeah, James Beal uses that compressor, and I appreciate it because that means I never have to worry about getting feedback when he's talking because it's always loud enough. Yes, inside voices, repeating the heckles. We need a new one for that. We need a slide that says repeat the heckle. This is one of the mixes on the mixer. So the mixer can actually have multiple mixes. Basically, what a mix is in audio parlance is you have a bunch of inputs and you have a bunch of outputs. And you say, for this one output, I want inputs 2, 3, and 4 to be up this much, and input 5 to be about here. And then for output 7, I want to have 1 and 2 up nice and high, and then everything else pretty quiet. So this allows to tweak if we have something interesting, like at a couple venues, we've actually used some of our microphones and some of theirs. But if we're taking their microphone in and then we're also feeding it back to the venue, then that right there creates a feedback loop. That's no good. So what we'd do is we'd have the mix that would go to the live stream. It would take our mics and their mics, and it would put them both into the live stream. But the mix that goes to the venue, we would only feed our mics into it because their mic is already going to their venue. So this allows that sort of flexibility. This is one of the other mixes. You can see different levels. These are actual screenshots I took at some point. This one's what goes to the HDMI output, which is what I believe it's the same as what feeds the live stream. Could be wrong about that. And this is what feeds the venue currently. Here's the gain page. Those feeders that you saw before are for actually operating like during the event if I need to make tweaks. This page should not be touched. This is sort of a roughing it in. If you're running a live event with like an actual console with buttons and knobs and all that, you don't do it this way. This is wrong. But for an event like this, get it roughed in with these and get it tweaked with the others. Another good thing, it can make snapshots, as they call it. So basically a software backup of everything on the console. So if we have a console crash and I have this on a flash drive somewhere, which I think I do, should probably double check that, then we can just buy a new console and we don't have to try and figure out everything that we did. We can basically just plug everything back in, load the file on it, and we're good to go. I never use this page. It could be useful for you if you're doing something like this. This is kind of all the outputs at once and what they're doing. Moving on to OBS a little bit. A fun idea that Kenny gave me, and I was confused because I didn't know it could do this thing. You can actually use OBS to record CTF demos. So if you want to do a CTF demo and you want to use OBS to record it and make it nice and easy for you and them, or stream it or whatever else you want to do, talk to Kenny because I don't know how to do that easily. I know how to do it a very convoluted way, but not an easy way. This is an actual screenshot of OBS from last month. This is what it looks like over here, except that this is the old CSS type thing, so it doesn't quite look like this, but the general layout's the same. This is what in the video world is known as preview and program. Basically, your preview, you can set up as a technician to see what's going to happen when you push it to program, and then if you're at like an actual video console, you have this nice big T handle. It looks almost Frankenstein. They're amazing. I don't get to touch those. But anyhow, they're really fun. And they also have a button that you can press that'll automatically transition or cut or whatever you want to do. Question from James? I think so. We are heckling. I didn't completely catch the question or comment, but we are basically heckling Craig for wearing the exact same shirt last month that he is this month. But he says it's a new shirt. But I mean, if you've ever met me, I have like 7 copies of the same wardrobe, so I'm not one to talk. I'm told I'm a cartoon character. Works for me. But anyhow, this is OBS. Off to the so left is preview, right is program. So at this very moment that I took this screenshot, that SecDSM 101 with the agenda was what was up on this screen and on the live stream. And if I would have pressed one of those buttons in the middle between the two, it would flip them. And I think Kenny's playing with me now. But anyhow, so the stuff on the bottom left is your scenes. You click the different ones of those, and it'll make different stuff happen on the left. And then when you click the cut, they call it cut or fade or go, depending on your system, it'll flip-flop them. And then the stuff in the sort of column next to the left is what's in that scene. And then the middle column there is your audio output and source selector. And then off to the right, I don't remember what's next to the right, but off to the right, you've got your like start and stop stream and record and all that stuff. Now, this is an information security meetup. I can't talk about all the audio-video stuff without touching on the security component. It's scary stuff. And this announcement is for everyone, including those that are not here to hear it. SecDSM audio-video gear is out of scope for any attacks you may have. Do not hack the hand that feeds you, to quote a teacher I had in high school. I would love to do some CTF-style things involving audio-video gear at some point. But unless you explicitly hear otherwise from a member of the board and or audio-video team, all of our audio-video gear should be considered out of scope. Yes, you have authorization, Kenny. Say it again? Did I put a challenge out there for everybody in the room? I think we have an FBI person in the room, so I guess... I mean, I'm not going to name names or anything, but I think Brandon's shirt said not the Fed, so that narrows it down by a little bit. But I, as the de facto caretaker of the audio-video gear, I'm telling you it's out of scope. So some bad things that audio-video gear does. I've always kind of taken an interest in where electronic stuff meets the physical world. Audio-video does a lot of that. I mean, you're literally creating physical phenomenon. It's light photons and audio compression and refraction and all sorts of fun stuff. So I don't know, anyone that likes robotic stuff for the same reason, like I think they'd be interested in this. Also, the security on a lot of these things is atrocious. I'm guessing people like Nick Stark that like to reverse engineer and break into things would probably have a lot of fun with a lot of it. Some of the bad things that a lot of audio video gear does, and this by the way goes all the way up to like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gear that does these bad things. Like it's widespread, it's bad. Using multicast and broadcast traffic with no options for unicast. Why exactly they settled on this stuff, I don't know. Protocols built on specs and in theory versus any like actual real world knowledge. There's this thing called Dante that you may have heard of that is sort of the new de facto audio distribution standard in most professional audio networks. It uses Ethernet. It uses a bunch of standard, 802, whatever the crap they are, IEEE stuff to do it. But basically what happened is a bunch of audio engineers said, we can do this better than a bunch of hodgepodge proprietary stuff. So they read a bunch of RFCs and stuff and wrote a standard and expected it to just magically work. So it's a little interesting. Most Cisco gear handles it just fine, but it can get real interesting if it's not set up just right. A lot of gear, lighting gear is especially bad about this, has hard-coded subnets or masks or IP addresses, that sort of thing. Some gear in particular, I recall, only let you set addresses in the 192.168 space. It only let you use, I think, up to 2 digits for the third octet, and your subnet mask was hard locked at /24. So, yeah, you kind of deal with what you're dealt in this world. Default passwords and ways of accessing are pretty well documented. if there even is a password. A lot of things don't get updated very much. Manufacturers kind of like, hey, yeah, here you go. We'll get a new model at some point. Firmware security, lack thereof. I don't remember completely why I put the asterisk there, but there must be a caveat besides not having security. There's actually a slide about that here in a few. The castability. So the castability is actually one of the reasons I put that out of scope slide in. There was one time in this particular venue that the projector started saying so-and-so is trying to share their phone. Like, do you want to allow this? We're like, no, please knock it off. Don't know what's going to show up if we do, but we don't want to do that. We might be rated R, but that might not be enough. So this is a Dante controller. If you find yourself on a Dante network, go pay, I think it's like $25, download Dante controller, and guess what? You're now in charge of their Dante gear. You can reroute things. You can do a little bit of that. It may not work quite that easy because really what a Dante controller does, whether it's the software one or whether you're using an audio console or something else, is it basically says, hey, all you devices on the network, you listen to me. And the gear just kind of goes, okay, sounds good. So if you have multiple devices that are saying, hey, listen to me, and they just say, yeah, that's good, then you're giving them, it just creates a mess. Which if that's all you're trying to do, then win-win. But if you're actually trying to completely take it over and own it, it might be a little more work you have to do there. But yeah, this doesn't require like any super special access other than paying for it. Could probably get it other ways, but I'm not going to cover those here. We don't condone illegal activity or immoral. This is a screenshot of BSS or Harman Audio conglomerate stuff, I believe. Is this that one? Let me check. Yeah. See, I just kept the screenshot full size, so I've got a little thumbnail of it basically here. So this gear does give you the option for a password. It's not that hard to factory reset. I think there's even some options for over the network. And it can be really easy to mess up too. This software is actually freely available. And again, lots of multicast or broadcast. I haven't dug into it quite that much. I don't care. I just cry and look the other way. There was actually one of the projects I did, I was asked if I could help fix this piece of Harman audio gear that just wasn't performing like it should. And I said, sure, I can give it a shot. And I basically just got on the same network as it and loaded this up on my computer. And it's like, hey, do you want to connect? I'm like, yeah, sure. Do you want to see the configuration? Yeah, sure. All right, here we go. So then I was able to see the whole configuration. And then I changed a bunch of stuff, and I sent it back, and it updated it. No password, no anything. And that's kind of par for the course, because what will happen if you put a password on these is, one person puts a password on it, and they don't tell anyone. And then you need to end up factory reset it anyway, so then they tell everyone, don't put a password on it, which is not great. So if you're ever on and most of this Harman gear too has very interesting network quirks, so I wouldn't be surprised if those are a good box to pop if you're more the network analysis and reverse engineering type. You could probably get root on one of these pretty easy if I had to guess. If you want to try, let me know. I might be able to give you a demo piece of gear to play with or something. But yeah, something to look for if you're ever doing audio video. This is GLD editor. Another thing similar, if you have a console somewhere that is compatible with this software, Allen and Heath makes this particular item. You just load this, again, free, go to their website, download it, be on the same network and say, I want to control that console. And again, if there's a password, you might have to put in password up to 12 characters or something like that. Otherwise, connect and run, have fun. And this is where it gets really fun. Because as you see, this kind of looks similar to those screenshots earlier with all the faders. That's because that's what this is. This is actually to control an actual physical audio console. And if you start moving your mouse and clicking and dragging on them, those faders on the actual console are motorized. So whoever's sitting at it will see the faders just moving on their own. It's a great prank to pull if they don't know it's hooked up like that. But again, only on networks you're authorized for. I was authorized and it was hilarious. This is a sort of conglomeration of screenshots from the firmware package for our audio console. And as you can see, it's basically just a Linux tarball disk image type thing. And the firmware update is basically you plug the thing in and say update. I would love to see if someone smarter than myself could like backdoor the firmware, and if we could load a custom firmware on it that does goofy things, it might be really cool sometime. As of now, it's out of scope. Talk to me directly if you want to know more. This whole talk is kind of a sales pitch. If you want to get involved, I didn't come up during the jobs earlier because I'm like, I got like a whole hour-long talk. We'll be good. But I'm always looking for people that want to learn, especially if you are willing to work for free, because I'm not paying you. There's free pizza I hear, maybe some free beer from time to time, but no monetary. Kenny says you might get a free laptop, but I'm not committing to that one. We'll have to ask Craig. This is a thing that Kenny and I strongly disagree about, but there are right ways to wind cables, and there are not right way to wind cables. And if you consistently wind it the right way, well, first of all, let's go the wrong way, right? If you're just wrapping it around your arm or something, and then you throw it out, after a few times, it starts to get all little knots and twists, and you have to spin a few minutes every time. I've got the audio control. Thanks, though. She threatened to cut my mic. I knew I was smart bringing this up here. But now this is the part of the live demo that scares me, right? But in theory, it comes out, and it's just all, no twists, no knots, no anything like that. And it really doesn't take that much longer to wind it once you practice a little bit. And then pretty consistently, you should be able to do the same thing, and it comes out with no knots or kinks or anything else. So if you want to learn that, you want to volunteer, let me know. Kenny does not want to learn this trick, so I'm not teaching her. BCP, or Business Continuity Plan, also known as the A for availability in the CIA triad of information security, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. As of right now, I don't know that we have a really strong BCP for if I get hit by a bus or something. So it sucks to think about, right? But if anyone wants to learn the system in and out and be available should something happen, I mean, interesting times. Who knows what might happen? But yeah, if you want to learn all these benefits right here, I'll be happy to talk to you. Demo time. I just gave a demo of winding and throwing out a cable, which worked perfectly. It wasn't on. Okay, well, that's the camera operator's fault if it wasn't on camera. So I've been effectively demoing the whole time. I mean, we've been using the audio video kit the entire presentation every month. What are we doing? Oh. I have to I don't want to break any lights. Kenny wants me to break lights. Okay, right. Look at that. No knots. Fortunately, I have experience with this. Fun fact: when I'm not here on Thursdays, I'm actually back at the church volunteering, and one of the things I do is help wind up all the dozens of cables afterwards. So I have a lot of practice. But you throw it out, and I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't messed up though, because I'm not even looking at it when I'm winding it. But anyhow, yeah, fun stuff. So demoing it the whole time. Anything purely functional and hardwired into the kit was probably something that I did. Anything that's useful in any other way, especially anything that actually looks aesthetic, or anything in OBS that works. I've made stuff that doesn't work in OBS, but if it works in OBS, any of those things were probably Kenny's doing. We do have a handful of volunteers. I will forget some of them, and I will forget half their names if I try and list them all. But we do have some people that help tear down and set up on a semi-regular basis here and there. Always appreciate that. So a little shout out there. And any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm not that hard to find. I'm Computer Freak 8 in both the Central Iowa Linux user group Slack, as well as the SecDSM Discord. That QR code, if I updated it properly, should link you to that URL, which is just a short link to this slide deck. So yeah, any questions right from the get-go, or comments, or other heckles, or middle fingers? Craig.
Have we ever thought about putting together like an index or something of past talks to that way we can go back
Question is, have we ever thought about putting together an index of past talks and stuff like that and whatnot? I'm sure somebody's thought about it. I haven't. Nobody's really asked me to. Somebody, I think, mentioned once upon a time, like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just go look up a talk? And I'm like, yeah, it sure would be. Yeah, another comment. It's almost like we need volunteers. If you have an interest in building something like that, again, if you're good at YouTube, I suck at YouTube. I actually only recently learned that it's been putting all our live streams public. I thought it set them to private afterwards. Oops. Generally not a huge deal, but one of those things to know, unintentional information disclosure, that sort of deal. But yeah, so I don't really have an answer to that. No, I don't know. I do know that I've asked a few times various presenters if they want a template. I know that some places that have various presenters cycle through with, especially if they're not used to presenting, they basically give them a template. If it's PowerPoint, a PowerPoint template or Google Slides or whatever, and say, here's the layout, here's where your edges are. In the industry, they typically call it title safe and action safe, specifically if they're dealing with televised stuff. And I've asked about it, and everyone's kind of like, do I have to use it? I'm like, no. I was like, I'm like, okay. So I haven't built a template. If someone really wants a template, I'll go build a template. Kenny wants a template, but she's not presenting to my knowledge. So if Kenny's going to present, I'll build a template. How's that sound? Or if anyone else is going to present that wants a template, let me know and I'll build a template. And we'll then have a template that I need to remember where I put it. Craig has another question or comment.
So I came up and noticed you did a white text on black background. I usually do a white background, black text. What advice do you have for people when they're making their slides not using fancy text?
So question being that he noticed I have white text, black background. Side note, some of the text is actually gray. And that he normally does black text on a white background, and what advice or whatnot that I have for people building their template. Biggest advice, bigger is better. In my template that I email to people, again, when they actually use the form to sign up and all that, there's a thing in there that basically says what you do is you put it on your laptop screen and you wheel your office chair back 10 feet, and if you can still read it, you're good. I got a complaint about that. I was told that the space in front of the laptop was not 10 feet long, so they were unable to determine if they were using an appropriate font size. So I might have to add, but I figured it was a lot easier to say that than to be like, well, actually, the arc angle of your eye needs to be, between the top and bottom of the font. Like, I mean, we could go all Apple and call it needs to be anti-retina or something like that, but I felt like just to sort of rough it in was probably good enough, because I figure, people in the back tell me, does this look about the same size as your laptop if you're 10 feet away, or am I wrong? I'm getting iffiness. I'm getting some thumbs up and some iffies and a big boo from over here. So if you want to present, here's what you do. If you want to present and you're really worried about it, go to the back and look at the projector screen before we tear it down and see how big it looks, and like mentally snapshot that. And then when you get back to your home or wherever you're doing your presentation, make your monitor that same mental image size, and you'll know what it looks like. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns, heckles, inappropriate comments? Kenny wants the mic closer. Going once, going twice. All right, I think that's all I got. Have a good one.